Morning, everybody. It is the 30th of March and Monday. How is everybody doing? Give me some good news.
I'm grateful we're not sick.
I'm grateful you're not sick also. Is everyone that you know happy and healthy?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, good. Be on the lookout. There's people that are really struggling right now, being isolated. So we are working constantly to touch our agents and to make sure they are doing well and any of their needs are being addressed. So if you hear of anyone that needs something, let myself or one of the other leaders know so we can tend to it right away, okay?
I would just like to say, a lot of you guys don't know, I just lost my father-in-law last Wednesday. Not to the virus or anything, to cancer, but we just found out this morning that my auntie has contracted the virus. So it's a lot.
Where is she? Where
I'm
is
so
she?
sorry to hear that.
She's in Detroit.
Oh,
In Detroit.
She's in Detroit. So forgive me if I'm back and forth, but it's a lot going on. She's just been my grandmother, who's 88, because they take care of her. So we're hoping that nothing has transpired within a time frame. So that's the news that we got as of this morning. And I just wanted to share because I don't want people to think that I'm distant or, I need you guys to know what's going on,
yeah.
Well, please understand that you have a community of people around you that care about you and care about your family. And whatever you need, big or small, I probably speak for the vast majority of us, I would say, just ask. We're here to help you. Okay?
Just prayers, you guys.
Sadia, I'm with you if you want to talk about that, because my cousin and her husband were diagnosed too.
Wow.
Where are they, Heather?
They're in New York.
Wow.
It's a lot to swallow. Your heart goes out for people that's going through it, but when it hits home.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully she'll be okay, but her husband has had a life of, it's very odd. He's a New York City detective and his unit was exposed. So out of the 30 people in his unit, 17 tested positive, and then their spouses had to get tested. And so she got her results Saturday morning. So I think we're a little bit more okay with Regina because she's healthier, but like Eddie is not. And then they have a 13-year-old daughter who's just quarantined from them, and it's a little much.
Well, Heather, same for you.
Thank you.
Please let us know should there be something that we can assist you with or assist your family members with. This is what they're saying, as you guys are probably hearing, is that probably the next 2 weeks are going to be the biggest wave for us locally, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention our family elsewhere. We just got to stay as positive as possible and be safe. It's tough. It's definitely tough. Anyone else would like to share something? Share a positive or a negative? How can we help you?
I have a positive maybe that I need some help with too.
All right.
I took 2 buyers out over the weekend separate, and they're a niece and an aunt. So one Saturday and one Sunday. And both of them want to get into contract with new builds. I'm actually going to take the aunt out again today just to see a couple of other properties, but I've never done new build contracts. So if anyone has any advice on what I need to do, that would be awesome.
Okay. You want to talk about that for just a moment? Okay. Kathy, I know you've probably done a bunch of these, so you chime in, please, if you think I'm leaving anything out. This is kind of pre-coronavirus. I don't know what their policies are going to be with respect to coronavirus, but essentially the contract is written completely to protect the builder, right? There is almost nothing in there that protects you as a buyer. So the biggest items that you want to be aware of are you need to completely understand their how you enter into the contract. So generally speaking, there's not a due diligence period of any kind, even if the home is already constructed. Okay, there is generally speaking a financing contingency, but if it's a new build and it hasn't been built or finished yet, it's going to expire long before the closing takes place. So that person really needs to be financially stable. They're generally speaking going to probably try to bribe you, for lack of a better way to put it, to use their lender.
Yes, that's what my client is asking me about this morning. She's like, oh, they'll give me a $10,000, cash back or something.
Yeah, so a couple things. Number one is they're not just doing it because they're nice. They're doing it because it allows the appropriate people in their world to get paid. Okay? So understand, can you guys hear me okay?
No.
There's a bunch of noise.
All right.
I think Natasha needs to mute. I keep seeing her name pop up with the noise.
Put you down. I'm going to mute you if you don't mind. You just did it. Okay. Somebody else might have done it. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. When you're speaking to a new home construction, people, you need to understand that they are going to most likely have some form of incentive if you use their lender. And the reason why they do that is because they're trying to pad the pockets of those that do business with them, not because they're being particularly generous. So I have had it where the on-site lender is the best deal possible financially. And I've also had it where it's a terrible deal financially. And even if you added in the incentive that the buyer was going to get, it still was a bad deal. So what I would suggest doing is taking that loan opportunity to another lender as well. That's where the loan worksheet comes in handy. So you would go, let's say their lender is with Wells Fargo or something. So you go to Wells Fargo, you go to their partner lender, and you get the bid. You get the loan worksheet. Then you take that to Kathy and you say, what do you think?
Yeah.
Right. At which point she'll say, that's great. Or she'll say, that's awful. And the margins are so bad that, I can do a better loan. I can do a loan and save you guys money. There's a couple of really, the appraisal you pretty much have no protection on. Okay. Now it's in their best interest to make sure the home appraises, but you need to be aware, and you might need to throw this idea at the consumer, the buyer, to say, like, if you're going to go and do like a lot of really unique upgrades, then this home may not appraise, and that's going to be on you. And if you back out at the last minute because the home doesn't appraise, you're going to get clobbered with, certainly loss of earnest money and maybe even getting sued.
Okay.
So for example, let's say that the floor plan is called the Madison, okay? And the Madison sells for $350. They're not going to knock a whole lot off the price because they need to make sure that the integrity of the comps, that the Madison sells always for $350 or more, right? So they're most likely, they'll give, but they're going to give in less obvious ways. They're going to give in things like washer and dryer, including the refrigerator, maybe pay some HOA dues, pay some closing cost, things that aren't as obvious to the sales price and aren't as obvious to the appraisal. So in my experience, I always got a much better concession if I went after things other than the sales price. Do you agree, Kathy? Right. So,
Correct.
right. So you can do whatever you want to do, but it's in the community's best interest, and quite frankly, your client's best interest too, to keep the sales price strong.
So
Right.
when you say that the appraisal, like there's no protection in the appraisal, is that when you go with their preferred lender? So I already had her pre-approved. Oh, it's in general.
It's in general.
Yeah, the contract does not protect you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So they'll go in and they usually use a cost analysis on the upgrades. So for example, if you go to the design studio and you pick out like the highest end granite or the highest end hardwoods or the highest end light fixtures and that kind of stuff, they'll usually give you the cost for it. So if that cost is like, let's say $1,800, then they'll give you credit for that on the appraisal. I don't know that I've ever had an appraisal issue with a new construction home, but my people have always stayed, you know, pretty in line. If your people want to come in and do like, you know, some weird tile job or like some weird hardwood floor job or like add this other room, if the builder will allow, that's where you start getting into tricky stuff.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Then there are so many things that could just go over appraisal and it doesn't, right? I got it. Okay.
That doesn't mean, again, they can't buy it. It just means they're not going to get the loan for the full amount or for the anticipated money. Kathy?
Is this house, is it already under construction?
So I took them out to 4 new communities yesterday. Her loan approval is $250, but if we work in HOAs, we have to really buy something at like $230. We can work in HOAs and she's not like completely tight, right? Really cute communities. 2 of them were really, really cute. The houses have already been constructed. But then she said to me, and I think she's enamored with the idea of like, oh, it's just built and then I move in. I'm like, you know, so I'm telling her, well, you know, the construction was done in January of this year. And so you can, but then she's like, well, I'd like to upgrade my tiles. And I know it's a preference, right? You're buying a new build, so you want it customized. But in my brain, like I can't get over the fact you're still the first person who lives here and these tiles are really nice, right? So I get it, but it's her choice. So
Has the tile work already been done?
yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
she wants to rip out the tiles and put different tiles in?
Either rip out the tiles or just put money down for them to just build a new unit. So I said to her, you know, they have to sell a certain number of homes before they start, you know, new lots and stuff. So I would have to check with them to see if they've done that. And if so, when is the next round of building? Like, how far is that going to push you out?
Oh, yeah. And not to mention the fact that we have social distancing and COVID-19 and
Right.
if that home's not finished or not constructed, there's no way to know when that thing is going to be done.
Right. And I said that to her. I said, you know, and right now the builders are nervous too. So they're going to tell people, oh yeah, it'll be done by June. And it can be extended. And
yeah, I wouldn't bet on that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, when you go to a new home community, you can either pick the one that's already built and it is what it is,
right.
Or you can go choose a home that's not to that stage yet and have more selection opportunities. The issue is that when you go to a home that's not completed, that's just more uncertainty, right? So you don't know, is the builder still going to be around, right? Is the builder, I mean, Kathy, you remember those days, right? Like, when are they going to finish? What are the interest rates going to be at that time, right? I mean, we've seen some wild fluctuations in interest rates. So, for example, Heather, let's say that woman can qualify for 230 at, let's say, 3.75. Well, what happens if the rate is 4? Now she can't qualify anymore. Now they've built this home for her, custom to her, and she can't afford it. So and it could be 6 months from now, right? Or 9 months from now, you never know, right? Or a year from now. And so that person is taking a considerable amount of risk.
And they would tear that tile out and put new tile in, but she's going to have to pay for all of that up front.
Oh, yeah.
And then if something happens,
non-refundable.
lose that earnest money. I had clients put make an offer and got under contract a new build from the ground up. I mean, we figured out what lot, everything. They put $18,000 down in upgrades and a lot upgrade. And 6 months later, after it was framed and bricked, they said, you know what? We don't want to spend $600,000 on a house. We want to go buy a $425,000 house. And they lost all of that money, and they didn't care. In the long run, it was more important to them to have a $425,000 house monthly payment rather than a $600,000. It made a difference to them in a year and a half, really.
Right.
But
They say everything is about choices.
Yep.
right? When you go into the community, you get to choose these things and there's risks associated. If you choose a different set of things, there's different risks associated. It's not uncommon in new communities to have upcharges for a specific lot, upcharges for a specific, what's the word I'm looking for, Kathy? Elevation, like the way the front of the home looks, right? Oftentimes, if the home is completed, you might get a little bit of a better deal, not necessarily on price, but on concessions, especially now. But if the home isn't built or they don't have like the floor plan they like or the finishes they like or something like that, oh my God, that's like, you just never know what's going to happen. There's so many risks, right?
Sounds terrible.
Look, everyone's willing to take risks. It's just a matter of what type of risks are you willing to take,
Right.
and how much money is associated with those risks. There's some communities that let you secure a contract for like $1,000. I've even seen as low as $500. But there's also other communities that want 10 grand right at the spot. And then once you, as soon as you want to pick upgrades, they want half of that money right then and there, all non-refundable.
Right.
Well, if you want to buy that home and you don't anticipate anything coming up, that's just normal course of business. This is about as unpredictable as a market I've ever seen.
Right.
So is that house was completed in January?
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, from my opinion, and I'm still new. So I'm all about, go ahead and ask them, put in an offer that asks them to rip out the tile, but just let her know that it might not happen. But the worst if they come back and the terms aren't favorable, then you can say, okay, well then that wasn't what you wanted and we can build. Or ask her if that's a deal breaker for her about not getting that house. Like, is the tile the deal breaker for her?
Right. And my thought was, and I said to her, it'd be cheaper for you to buy this house and rip out the tile yourself and do it.
Oh, for sure.
Why pay all this money up front when you can live in that house and over the course of the next 6 months or 12 months, just replace your backsplash.
100%.
Yeah. So I did that combo with her too.
Yeah, I'm like, we bought now this was a year and a half ago, so different market, different time, and the house had been built for longer than just a couple of months, but I don't know, and it's a different builder too, so who knows, but we had them put in Coford ceilings and a mudroom bench, and we actually asked for a concession on price, but it had been on the market for a lot longer, but and we didn't have to put the extra money down. They just didn't start the work until our financing, our other house was sold. Right. So.
And, everyone is just evaluating the risk versus the reward. And also one caveat to what I said about a discount on the price is generally the farther along in the community, like the last couple of homes, they may just let anything happen, right? Because they want to get out of there. Right. But at the very beginning, you're less likely to see that.
Right.
Thanks for that input, Heather.
Guys, I appreciate all the input and the feedback.
We have a third Heather that has joined the group, so this should be fun. And it goes back to that question that we talked about the other day, which is what would have to happen for blah, 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 right? So for example, what would have to happen for you to agree to work with my buyer? What would have to happen for you to agree to rip out this tile and put in the tile my client desires? Right? And they'll tell you right up front, okay, well, it'll be, $6,000. Okay, great idea. I think that's a risk we're willing to take. That seems reasonable. Or they'd say, well, first of all, it's not possible. To which point you'd say, what would have to happen for it to be possible? Right? And then they'd say, oh, okay, it's $20,000. Okay, at least I know. Right? So remember, that's a question you could pretty much ask anyone at any time. What would have to happen for this to take place? Right? Kathy, what would have to happen for you to agree to work with me today? Well, you'd have to agree to buy a home warranty for the buyer. Well, shit, that's it? Okay, sign the papers. You never know. Okay, we got a lot of people on the call, so I want to just go over one or two really quick things. I've sent out we had a request for kind of a summary email of sorts that kind of recap to what we discussed during the week, and if there was anything in particular that was kind of homeworky. So I did that for the first time yesterday. Did you guys all receive that? Do you have any feedback? Was that helpful?
That was great.
Yes, that was really helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Did you write something other than mice type?
You know what? I'll give, if
It
anyone
looks
thinks
like
they
the
know how
keyboard
to,
elves wrote it.
if anyone thinks they know how to fix this, ever since we changed my email signature, that's been the problem. So if you think you know how to fix it, I'll give you my username and password and you can fix it. Because I've tried.
Okay, I don't know how to fix it.
Okay, you're not
It
hired.
just looks
Who
like
wants to be hired?
Okay, all right, never mind.
No, look, I'll give you my password right now. I'm
What's
even-
wrong with it? I didn't
There's-
see what's wrong.
It's coming in very small for some reason.
It looks like the keyboard elves wrote it.
I can probably help you with that.
Beautiful. All right, I'll talk to you offline. Thank you,
Okay.
Kathy.
Sure.
So if you have not replied with your numbers, please reply with your numbers as quickly as you possibly can. These are numbers from this past Tuesday through yesterday. And if you have a pending and the deal is still pending, that's not a new pending. So this is new activity from Tuesday through yesterday. Okay. Today, what are the DTD2 numbers or letters? I mean, who has already written it in their planner for today?
Y and Z.
Yeah, that should be an easy one, I think, right?
Text F.
And we're texting F. Does everyone know what that means? Everyone in your database that has a last name that starts with Y or a last name that starts with Z should get a call from you this week. Okay? And everyone that has a last name that starts with F as in Frank, should get a text from you. And would you like to know what a great script would be? Does anyone want to take a guess?
How can I help you?
How are you and how can I help you? Okay. Who is that focused on? Them. Not focused on yourself, right? We've had a number of examples this week that some have shared publicly, some have shared privately, where when they changed their mindset around how they communicate with their prospects to make it about them versus about you, they've gotten exactly what they wanted. Exactly what they wanted. Right? Whether that was the sharing an app with somebody or getting an appointment or getting some more contact information or getting some more details about the person's life that you can then bring up in the future. So just ask that question very pointedly. Okay, let's talk about tactic 3 for a second. How's everyone doing with their shift book?
Good. It's good.
Sorry, I will admit I didn't really realize how long tactic 4 was. So we'll talk a little bit about tactic 4. Let's say, yeah, I could probably. Let's do that tomorrow. Let's stay on tactic 3 today for a minute. All right, who wants to share some of their takeaways from tactic 3? Do more with less.
Oh, got lots.
All right, you start, Kathy.
Hold on, I'm going to, okay, and this is what I really needed to hear. You must envision and promote a positive future. There is an old saying in sports, if you want to stay ahead, then play like you're behind.
Yep, I love that.
That was my favorite too, Kathy. I have started.
Love that. What does that mean to you, Kathy, when you read that? Like, what emotions does that stir up, or what do you need to change or adjust based on you having clarity on that point?
I get, it's my mindset really is what it boils down to, and I get bogged down sometimes in well, no, I don't get bogged down. I'll get snagged by fear. And, fear for our country, fear for everybody's health, fear about how long this is going to go on. And, 90% of the stuff you worry about never happens. So
Mhm.
you got to stay positive. You got to have a positive outlook for you, for your family, for the country, for the economy, for everybody's health. And
Yep.
that is what really leapt out. It's like it leapt out of the book and grabbed me because
Yeah.
I've been, especially over this weekend, I don't know why, I got a little snagged by it.
Yeah. You know, that kind of goes back to the point we just made as well, which is like, just to remind you guys, the average real estate agent in Atlanta sells 3 homes a year, right? One second here.
Do you have
1
something
second.
long and crappy?
No. The average real estate agent in Atlanta sells 3 homes a year. And this is not commentary. I'm not saying that's a unproductive agent or a bad agent or anything. I'm just telling you, I think it's fair to say that you all have a desire to sell more than 3 houses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
3 houses a month.
And Kathy, you have sold more houses than that every year for many years. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you consider yourself an above average agent?
Yes.
I would too. Now, remember that 2/3 of buyers and 70% of sellers only select one agent. I'm sorry, only interview one agent before they select that agent, right?
Right.
So if you don't go out and no matter what's going on in the world, and I'm not making light of this situation or what you're experiencing, but if you don't go out there and do your job of communicating with the people that need to hear what they need to hear, both people that know you and don't know you, then what's going to happen is they have a bigger likelihood of working with a poor agent. And that's not about you, that's about them. And I know you care about that or you wouldn't be in this business.
Right.
Right. And you wouldn't have stuck around for as long as you have, and you wouldn't have taken on leadership opportunities and these kind of things. Right. So the more you're not working necessarily for yourself, you're working to share what you've learned with the public so that they can behave properly and they can make strategic decisions. Because if you're worried about the real estate market, guess what your consumers are doing? They're even more worried because they don't even have the tools and they don't have the information that we have. So that goes back to this line that I've always said, like, we are the calming force in the transaction. Like, it's very hectic. It's very chaotic. Our job is to say, okay, let me put my arm around you. It's all going to be good. There's 20 people involved in this process and I'm talking to all 20 of them. So just hang tight. Right. All right. Share some more ideas about what you learned in Tactic 3.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily ideals, and I'm asking all of you guys to help me out here. I don't know if I got it. I don't know if I quite understood Tactic 3. It don't seem like it applied with someone that's so new at it.
Yep.
And I don't know if I'm reading it right, but it seemed like everything I read was for somebody that's been involved in it a lot longer. Whereas that Tactic 4, I saw 4, hitting home with me, but I didn't get Tactic 3.
So let me give you a different lens. I see where you're coming from with that because it talks a lot about like top grading your talents and hiring and these kind of things.
Right.
So leverage is generally systems, technology, and then people. So the third segment of leverage is kind of what this focuses a bit on, and that's hiring people, which is probably a good bit away from where you're at today. I completely understand that. The best use of leverage for a newer agent is by embracing systems, right? That's things like checklists and command and these kind of things, and technology. So can I automate my 36 touch? Can I automate my neighborhood nurtures? Can I automate my text messages? Can I, instead of sending one text message to 400 people, can I send it all at the same time? Is there a piece of technology that will allow me to do that? That's leverage. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you're not quite ready to get to the people segment of that, you focus on the other two main concepts, which are how can I systematize this,
Right.
right? Because any behavior you do more than once should become a system. So like a pre-qualification questions or a listing appointment or setting up how you send comps to somebody or whatever it may be. That should become a system. And the next thing is there a piece of technology that I can use in order to make this more efficient? Right. That's kind of what we talked about. Remember when we did that line with the dot at the end and we separated that line into the lead generation, the follow-up, and the transaction management? Each one of those processes has systems, has technology, and ultimately may have a unique person operating them. Right. And as you grow a business, you're creating this, you're basically creating a operations manual, if you will. Right. So if a new person comes onto your team, you can say, we've been doing open houses for years, and this is the document that says exactly how to do it. Right. It says all the things that you might anticipate. It says all the issues you might have problems with. It has all the questions you're probably going to ask here. This is the system for open houses. There's no debate on how to do it. And I don't have to pull my time away to train you because I've already written this document. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
That's leverage.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. One last thing is I'm starting a new thing. I think Aubrey copied my idea about coffee. So every day at 3 o'clock for 30 minutes, we're just going to do, I put PC Coffee with Bill, which is just you come into the room, whatever you want to talk about, we talk about. If there is like somebody, Heather, you brought up new home construction, we'll talk about that. You want to talk about profit share, you want to talk about cold calling, whatever it is, we'll talk about that. And my hope is that that will help us get clarity on our bigger topics for the week. And then everyone is invited, of course, to our big session from 12 to 1 today. And I've got a number of appointment slots that are still available this week. I would love to, it's a little light on the big classes. And the reason for that this week is I want to do some more one-on-ones. So if you have not registered for or signed up for a one-on-one, there's a Calendly link in the email that I sent yesterday. Okay. Any questions? Marie, Tevin, great to see you on the call. Please, if there is anything that anyone needs with respect to this virus or otherwise, let us know. Okay. All right. Have a great morning.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.